Hello and a very good evening to all of you. I hope everything is visible and I'm audible also. Just send hi, hello, good evening, whatever you want to send, so that I can understand that you are able to hear me or see me. Okay. So people are coming in. Very important lecture for your understanding regarding the economy and the 20 lakh crore package, the alternative development strategy that I would like to present in front of you in this live session. Like what could have been done in place of this 20 lakh crore, or what could have been done with this amount of 20 lakh crore. Okay, so I hope everyone is safe at place at your particular state, city. So I wish you well. Please take care because cases are rising and staying at home is a sensible step unless and until it is very you can say compulsory to go out. Don't move out, don't meet a lot of person, so stay inside. And yeah, this one announcement, all your WhatsApp doubts I'll clarify tonight after this session, so don't worry. I know a lot of students asked a lot of questions over WhatsApp, but first we see the session. This session is very important for you, and that is why attending a live session is very vital to understand the economy, to understand the conceptual part of that. Okay, so this is how we'll move. Okay, I think we can start now. Yes, so I'll just change the title. Okay, so now you know that Indian economy is struggling with the problem of slowdown, and this slowdown has been started, you can understand, right after demonetization, then to GST, and then again the successive slowdown in the successive quarters till the point in the March 2020 government started lockdown. Now the lockdown is just because of the protection on the we can say on the onset of the coronavirus and the spread of coronavirus very quickly throughout the country. So nationwide lockdown imposed, and despite some resulting increase in the economic activity, vast number of working people will remain under or will remain without their regular incomes. Now recently government of India announced a package of 20 lakh crore, but you know that this package includes already allocated money of 6 lakh crore and the monetary policy directives to the banks and the non-banking financial companies. So in that 20 lakh crore, government included earlier allocated 6 lakh crores. Now the announcement by the Honorable Finance Minister, thus far we can say, involves no additional public spending. So all the money which has been already issued, that they have announced, even though this is urgently needed to require to revive the economy and prevent the further contraction means the low growth. Now here in this lecture, in this live session, we will discuss about the that government should do immediately, what kind of fiscal measures, because monetary measures we have seen and they have failed miserably just because the credit demand is low in the country. So what we can do is another policy, another set of policy, that is known as fiscal policy. Here the fiscal policy means it is related to government's revenue, government's expenditure and government's debt. So in this lecture we will discuss about the fiscal policy measures, or we will discuss the immediate measures that government can take in the fiscal terms to revive the economy and supporting the livelihoods. Now the economic fallout due to COVID-19, the first important suggestion here or the solution that I would like to present in this live session is food and cash transfer. So the immediate need is to provide free food and cash transfer to those they rendered incomeless. Now, according to one analysis done by the professors from Jawaharlal Nehru University, uh, the providing every household, that was an independent research, although not a very formal research, but providing every household with 7,000 rupees per month for a period of 3 months, and every individual with 10 kg of free food grains per month for the period of 6 months is likely to cost around 3% of our GDP. It means if we say that every household we are providing, that will cost 3% of our GDP. And you know that package of 20 lakh crore cost around how much? That is 10% of GDP. So it is well within the limit, because that would provide immediate relief to the migrant workers, to the poor people, because they'll get cash in hand that will generate rural demand or the demand in the economy. Now, this could be financed immediately through the large borrowing by the central government from the RBI. So this is financing. It means 3% of GDP could be financed by large borrowing from Reserve Bank of India. That is 6 lakh crore that I have already told you. Now the required cash and the food should be handed to the state government to make actual transfers, along with the outstanding goods and services tax compensation. So you know that under GST Act of 2016, there is a provision that if a state will fall, or a state will experience after the implementation of GST, if they will experience fall in their tax revenue, central government will provide compensation for the 5 years. Now there are a lot of outstanding we can say goods and services compensation with the central government. So central government's first role should be, they should immediately release all the outstanding GST payments compensation to the state government. Now first I told you that government should provide food grains. Now how they will provide the food grains? First, we can say food grains are in plentiful. As data suggested by Food Corporation of India, FCI had 77 million tons of food grains, and Rabi procurement could add around 40 million tons more. It means 77 plus 40, so it's almost 117 million tons of food grain that we currently have. So this we can do very easily by providing 10 kg of food grains to every individual per month for 6 months. Okay. Second important measure. First was free food and cash transfer. Second measure, because of the lockdown restrictions, you know, whenever government spends money into the economy, there is effect of multiplier. So the multiplier rounds of such expenditure is obviously heavily truncated. It means that effect of multiplier, we would not be able to see that. Presently, that would not generate much of demand as we compare with the normal times. So government has to push in this time very, very aggressively. Third, we can think about the cash transfers. In many sphere, what they will do, they will enable the current demand. It means apart from continuing demand like house rent, the normal food, that will not create any fresh demand. So what government can do, they provide the cash transfer in order to generate the demand in the economy. Fourth, we can understand that if you think the greater normalcy will prevail, like we are from lockdown we are moving towards unlock. Now this will pent up demand to the surface, and output could also expand because of the economic activity is now resuming. So this is how that government can support that. Finally, the fifth important point is putting money in the hands of the poor. This is the best economic revival. If you see the Great Depression of 1929 to 1933, John Maynard Keynes, in his book The General Theory of Employment, Interest and Money, he provided a solution that government must provide cash in hand so that it will generate the aggregate demand, and that aggregate demand will be generated in the local market, and that is very important. It's a bottom-up approach. So local market will generate the demand, and the demand in the overall economy, that is what we call the effective demand and the aggregate demand, that will go up. So an immediate program of food and cash transfer must command with the highest priority. Now moving on towards the next phase of our discussion, if we compare with the rural and the urban economy, and then we'll see the health sector or in club with the social sector more or less. Now you know that Manrega is an important scheme, MGNREGA, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, or the scheme. Now you know that millions of workers or the migrant workers have endured immense hardship during these time. You must have seen, must have been reading in the newspapers, and they are unlikely to return to their towns obviously in the foreseeable future. So it's like almost 6 months, 1 year, or maybe 2 years, they will not return to the urban areas. What government can utilize these times by providing the support from Manrega. Now employment has to be provided to them where they are. Like for example, if they are moving from metro cities to the rural areas, it's a duty of the government to provide employment opportunity in their local areas or the rural areas. Now for which we can say Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme must be expanded. The broad base of that Manrega is very, very important. That will revamp the wage earners, and the wage must be paid immediately. Now you know that in Manrega there's a limit of 100 days of employment, guaranteed employment given by the government. Now for the current period, maybe for the next 6 months, that 100-day limit per household has to go. It means we need to increase that limit of 100 days to the as number of days that we can provide. Like work has to be provided on the demand, not with the any limit of this 100 days. Suppose one person is demanding the work for 150 days, government should provide, okay, and that is not to the one person of the household, to all the adults, that government can do it. Now you know that in Manrega they have certain permissible work limit. Now it is not just the agriculture, the construction work, but work in the rural enterprises or in the care activities like healthcare activities that must be generated. Because you know, as we are seeing the spike in the coronavirus cases, what government can do right now is to provide healthcare infrastructure in the rural areas. Because if the coronavirus like go towards the rural areas, it's very difficult with the rural infrastructure to cope up with the rise in the cases. Now I can say that this strategy is successful. This alternative strategy of development has been a successful evidences from China. In China, you can search it, township and village enterprise scheme. So they have experienced a very successful development by adopting the township and village enterprises. This is the same line where we can revamp the nature of Manrega, because Manrega started in 2005 and in 2009 that became an act, and you can understand that since then there's hardly any changes. So this crisis is the opportunity to change the structure of the MGNREGA. Apart from this, you know, in rural areas public banks can provide credit to such panchayati owned enterprises, and they can also assume the nurturing role while they are growing towards we can say a medium enterprises. Now this can be done through Jam Trinity. Jam Trinity is Jandhan, Aadhaar and Mobile. So this is the great thing that government did in the past 4, 5 and 6 years, so that they can take the advantage right now. Because in Jandhan we have all the accounts, we can transfer the money, direct benefit transfer, and it is linked with Aadhaar card and the mobile. So the communication becomes faster. Now you know the success story of South Korea and Singapore is just because they have seamless amount of communication channel. If Prime Minister wants to send a message, then in just 5 or 10 minutes every citizen gets that message. So this is the power of the communication that we can utilize by using the Jam Trinity. The second change is, we can say, if we think about the unsustainability of the earlier globalization, because now countries are looking inward, they are not resuming their imports. So it's not the time that India can like increase the exports. What we can do is, the growth in India in the coming days will have to be sustained by the home market. So home market must be built enough. That is what we call the Atmanirbharta. Atmanirbharta does not mean the import substitution. Atmanirbharta means whenever we do not have any support of imports, we can still stand. Okay, so this is the main concept of Atmanirbharta, that in the coming days, Indian economy must be sustained by the home market. That is very, very vital point. Since you know that the most important determinants of the growth of the home market is the agriculture, because in the time of the lockdown, people were having foods, people were demanding foods. So agriculture growth is having great opportunity to grow, and that must be urgently boosted. As I was talking to the member of Niti Aayog, Professor Ramesh Chand, he said that coronavirus period is very, very vital for India's agriculture. India's agriculture sector grew faster than the non-agriculture sector growth. So that's quite a big achievement for the agriculture sector. This is not just because non-agriculture sector is not growing, but agriculture sector has been growing. So that's a great opportunity, and government must think that the important determinant of the growth in the India's home market right now is agriculture sector, and this must be urgently boosted. Now the Manrega can be used for this, like paying wages for the land development, farm work, or small and medium farmers. Apart from the government support, if you see the remunerative procurement prices, subsidized institutional credit, other input subsidies, because Kharif season is coming in, so input subsidies required, redistribution of the unused lands and the plantation. So these kind of opportunity that government is currently having in order to have the good amount of growth, especially in the agriculture sector. Now agriculture growth can turn up like to promote rural enterprises as well, because you know that agriculture sector provides input to the industries, and this is the right time where we can both by creating a demand for their product and by providing inputs to them. It means the demand of the product and the inputs both at the same time, and these activities would generate substantial amount of rural employment. Now I was reading some data that coronavirus lockdown, only 30 lakh people found Manrega work in the month of April, and that is very, very less if we compare the population of our country. Now from the rural economy, now focusing on urban economy. Now if we move on to the urban economy, it's absolute essential to revive the micro, small and medium enterprises, what we call MSMEs. We need to boost it up, because big corporates are having deep pockets, and they can sustain, they can sail through this turbulent times. But simultaneously, vast number of workers who have stayed in their towns, they were not able to move back towards their hometown, providing employment and income after we can say the proposed cash transfer that will run out from the government's perspective. The best way to overcome both the problems would be to introduce urban employment guarantee program. So this is the new idea that we can do, urban employment guarantee program. This urban employment guarantee program is targeting towards two categories of individual. Number one is urban unemployed, and the second one is educated unemployed. So these two are very, very vital, especially because people are living the meager life, people are living in urban slums. So that is the place where our urban cities are not actually able to cope up the extra amount of migration from rural to urban areas. So urban local bodies must take charge, and they should lead from the front to revamp this purpose. Now I was already saying that the humanitarian crisis of lockdown that reveals that there's less protection of the labor. Recently, some of the states repealed they have withdrawn the labor laws, although some merits and demerits are there. But still, if you are in a crisis, it doesn't mean that you should not protect the labor laws, or you should not protect the interests of the labor. Now, the third important sector that I need to discuss here is the care economy. Care economy is focusing on the health infrastructure. Now you know that in the health infrastructure, public health remains we can say a very underscored. The extreme importance is to revamp that thing. It means privatization of essential services are very, very important. If you see the post-pandemic period, this must be increased in the public expenditure, especially in the health and the education, especially the primary and secondary health, which is very, very vital in order to counter these kind of crises in the future. Now, vaccines in the public employment, or we can say such activities immediately filled. So vacancies, if you have any, like suppose for example in government hospitals there is a lot of vacancies lying vacant. So government has to ramp up these activities, and they must be immediately filled in order to cope up with the number of increase in the number of patients. To cope up with the rural areas, Anganwadi and Asha workers who provide essential services to the population at large, they must be treated as the regular government employees, and they must be provided with the proper remuneration or the benefits that is associated with their post. So this is very important. Now the question comes from where the funding is arranged. Now this could be easily come within the 20 lakh crore package that Prime Minister announced, and what I have suggested the measures, but that could be financed easily by printing of money. That is for the short term only. Now in the medium term, you need to increase the public revenue, and that public revenue must be increased through taxation. Now taxation means, it doesn't mean to increase the income tax, increase the GST rate. If you increase the efficiency of the tax system, it will give you more amount of revenue. That's what we call tax buoyancy. If we have a large amount of tax base or the national income, tax revenue will go up if we increase the efficiency. So unutilized capacity exists in the economy, but what we can say is that the tax revenues are very vital. We can tax the top level like wealth and inherent tax. We can get some amount of money, small amount of money from multinationals. And if you see, the income inequalities in India is also rising. So that's a great point, that if you tax wealthy individuals or the multinational corporation, that might cause some hardship in the shorter time, but in the longer time this is obviously not a permanent solution, so government should withdraw in future. But for right now, this is the need of the hour. Although a lot of people were saying that if you increase the taxes on multinational, that might cause large financial outflows from India to abroad, but let me tell you, it is contrary. Even the foreign capital is more likely to come in our country because of the stimulus that we are giving to the economy. So if we recover our economy, if we are able to recover our economy from the coronavirus crisis, I think the foreign investment will come in. And you know that recently we are reading the news that Indian foreign exchange reserves has been highest since independence. That is $500 billion we have crossed. So that's a great news for all of us. We have crossed 500 billion of foreign exchange reserves. That is very, very vital. Apart from this, you can utilize the resources provided by International Monetary Fund in the form of special drawing rights. Now I was reading some data. At an estimated around 12 crore people or 12 crore Indians lost their job during this lockdown in the month of April. So 12 crore individual lost their jobs in the month of April only. So we do not have any data of month of May and the half of month of June. So that is the data given by CMIE. You can check that data. Now what I've suggested, that the additional resources that may finance the universal justiciable, or we can say fundamental economic right, because people have the right to food, right to employment, right to access the free public health care, a right to have free public education, and the pension and disability benefits. I think the shattered economy must be rebuilt in a ways to ensure the dignity of life that may be enjoyed by the people of India. So I hope you understand the lecture. If you have any doubt, you can ask in the comment section. Already there are a lot of questions, so we'll see one by one. And if you have, you can ask. We'll end up a session at 10:15, so you can ask your doubts till in the next 20 minutes or till 10:15. So starting from the old doubts, I'll take one by one. After saying good evening to all of you, Rahul Tiwari is asking, I am UPSC aspirant, can you complete whole economy UPSC? Yes, Rahul, we complete GS course as well as the economics optional. Aditya is asking, please make a video on how should we read NCERT for general studies. Yes, Aditya, please WhatsApp me this topic. I'll make a note of it. Okay. Then next is Tanishka. IAS exam will not conduct or not in this year. IAS exam will not conduct this year only because of no vacancies reported by Ministry of Finance. Okay, next year it will be conducted. Good evening, Kim. Good evening. Yes. Then Pakia Raj is asking, supply side package, explain its benefits. Supply side package is currently we cannot think, because supply side package is not an option right now. Demand side package are more important. Supply side package means reduction in the tax rate, reduction in the credit rates. So this is what government has been doing. Then providing free to all is not practical. Why you want to feed free to every individuals who are already overfed? See, if suppose you are getting food very easily, it doesn't mean that other peoples are also getting food freely or easily. It takes a lot. If you see the ground level report, people are struggling. So if you discriminate, suppose between the poor, non-poor, or the people just above the below poverty line, if you make a target that will provide food only to the people below poverty line, then obviously the people who are above the poverty line are also not very rich. So it's like almost 50% of the population should be covered. Ayushi, can Manrega can feed an educated middle class unemployed person? I think right now we cannot say that, but Ayushi, I think urban employment program must be there on the cards of the government, and government must be thinking in that direction, because for the educated unemployed person, government has to think, because every now and then we say demographic dividend that India is enjoying, but if we will not reap that benefit of demographic dividend, it will become a demographic burden. So Manrega, not certainly not, but some different form of Manrega should be there. See, obviously there's a problem of there's one question: do you think providing free for the next 3 or 6 months means making the individuals inactive? I don't think so. People will become inactive because we are or the government would say at the initial stage that we are going to give these benefits only for certain time period, that is the time period of the lockdown. So I don't think so it will be an inactive thing like comes in, although there's a problem of moral hazard where people do not want to work, but that's not the case, because this is the case in the unemployment allowance or the universal basic income. But I don't think so that for the temporary package this will be the case. Next question is, sir, government is apathetic towards people, especially migrant workers, in terms of socio-economic welfare, but on the market and solely economic terms, it will affect the government expenditure on non-revenue expenditure. Yeah, I think as far as I understand your question is that migrant workers in terms of socio-economic welfare, the market and solely depends on the government expenditure, we can say, but seriously right now government should not think about the revenue or non-revenue expenditure. But I think if it requires, we should go out of the box, out of the kitty, and government should invest or spend money in order to help the migrant workers, because these migrant workers somewhat previously before the lockdown were contributing towards the economy, especially the construction sector. Okay. The next question is, Ayushi is asking, so can we compare our workforce and the level of work with China? Seriously, Ayushi, to be honest, we cannot compare our workforce and the level of work with China. There's no comparison. China is way ahead in comparison to our country. And to be honest, this is a harsh reality, but you can see the productivity as well as the skills that they have. Next is asking, nobody can support to the middle class educated, they are born fight for survival only. I think it's having the opportunity. I don't think so, although I had a conversation on the middle class people that will come soon on Thinking Tree series. But regarding this, I would say that this is not a right thing to think about it, because middle class is having their own opportunity, and if you have the opportunity you can make most of it. But the poor class is not having the opportunity. It's not about the income, it's all about the opportunity. If you get the opportunity to be educated, to study in a good school, decent college education. It means you have the opportunity to rock the world. But poor people do not have the basic education, and you know that education is very, very important. Here, education does not mean the formal education like school, college. Education here includes all the common sense, the awareness about, and the well-informed citizen. Rahul Tiwari is asking, can free food possible for middle class family? See, free food is possible for the middle class family for the time being only. I'm not suggesting that it should go forever. Okay. Samiksha, thank you so much. Next is self-reliance, which has been the idea of Mahatma Gandhi. Obviously, and that's a great idea, and self-reliance is a good option. But we can say that self-reliance doesn't mean that we should cut off from the global world. Global world is important. For the same, you cannot live at your home only. You have to talk to your neighbor. You have to go towards your nearby shops, or to meet friends, to meet colleagues, teachers, etc. On the same lines, India has to do the same. Okay. Next is how can we capitalize the agriculture sector in these days? Will it help in economic recovery? Yeah, I told you earlier, I was having a conversation with Professor Ramesh Chand. He's the member of Niti Aayog and 15th Finance Commission. You can see the video as well. He said that agriculture sector has been doing well, tremendously well, in comparison to the non-agriculture sector in the lockdown period. Yeah, next question is Arjun is asking, bringing petroleum under GST can unshaken the economy. I think right now we cannot do this because states will not cooperate, and this is not the time to do the non-urgent work. So the urgent work is to fix the economy, to revive the demand. Petroleum will take later, but obviously at the initial stage also, petroleum is the important input in the transportation and the cost of production. So petroleum must be the part of GST. Then the next question is, sir, how can we use our biggest weapon, youth? I think education is the most important thing, and investing in education is very vital. So to understand the economics, you need to understand the real world economics, not the bookish economics. I never promote the bookish language or bookish economics. So this session is only for those candidates who want to understand the correlation in the economics with the real world, theory with the real world. So applied part you have to understand. Okay. Next is Ayush is asking again, what's the solution for middle class people who can't work in farms, who won't get the work in Manrega? I told you urban employment program that government should think about it and they should launch. Next is, sir, in coming days, will it affect PPC to low brand only? What is PPC? I think production possibility curve, or to low brand only, or both higher and lower. So sorry, I'm not able to understand your question properly. Please reframe the question. Next question is, we are already spending 6% on subsidy, another 6% of management. Should government take extra load? I think these are the time, like this is a crisis which comes once in a century. So we should not think about the deficit, and you can go off budgetary sources as well. You can go to special drawing rights as well, because these are the rights for the situation like coronavirus. So you should take the advantage of that. If IMF is providing that, why you're having SDRs? Okay. So government can take subsidies. What subsidies are? Subsidies are like incentive to start anything, but government was not able to withdraw that in a phased manner. Now what is the solution right now? Phasing out subsidies and invest in the capital expenditure. Yeah, the next is, who will work if one gets free food and free 7,000 per month? I understand, but this is for a temporary purpose. I'm not saying that this is for the permanent purpose. Okay. So for temporary, you need money. If you don't need money, just give to some other person. But people are there, they need money to spend right now at the crisis time. I've seen from my eyes, people are struggling. So we need to do this kind of things. Rahul Tiwari is, sir, any course of UPSC Indian Economy? Yes, Rahul, we have the GS course. You can visit our website www.ecoholics.in, given in the description as well. Okay. Samiksha, very good evening. Nice to have you. Beautifully explained. Thank you, Samiksha. Uh, you think to increase the tax department efficiency means you agree that tax department not efficient. Yes, obviously I agree that tax department is not efficient. Like GST, people are able to evade or they hide their income from the income tax as well as the GST. So that is obviously quite inefficient. And the government also accept that. You can read the economic survey, they are saying that tax department inefficiency is there. Next is, sir, in Nagaland, National Health Mission workers are calling for strike to protest against the state government for not meeting their demand of regularizing. Yeah, that's what the same point I've mentioned. The people working in Anganwadi or Asha workers, they should give the permanent status of government employee and they must give the benefits accruing to other government employees. So if your priority is not health, again some other crisis will dent the Indian economy again. So for your labor force, education and the health, these are the two important things. If you do not take care of that, you will struggle in future. Yeah, next is, how will employment opportunities created by the government? I think government should create small MSMEs that is linked with the government and the private sector, because government is not able to disinvest, and you can see that in the government sector there's a lot of inefficiency. People are not working, they are taking salaries, they're not going to work, and if they are going to work, they're not doing anything productive. So it means you can cut down the staff by half almost, and you can also sell your PSUs if they are not working. Like what we do, if suppose for example you have invested in a mutual fund and you are incurring loss and loss again, would you invest extra money into that? No, obviously the question is no. Then why government is doing? Why government is not selling Air India? Why government is not selling other PSUs like the BSNL, the other MTNL? So that was a time before the economic reforms. Now you are in 21st century, so you are stuck midway. You're not even globalized and not even like a state planned economy. So that is the case where India is confused. Next is, Manrega duration should be extended, as you said, beyond 100 days. But where do the government employ them when the demand is all-time low? I think demand is generated by the government. If government will shut down all the activities, demand will not generate. How they can generate? We can build the temporary hospitals. That is the demand generation. Temporary hospitals, temporary quarantine centers. So it's the opportunity of the coronavirus that you have to take. Like people are making masks, people are making sanitizers. So this is the opportunity that you are making most of it. Okay. Next is Rahul Tiwari. Sir, how can we create a job after COVID-19? I told you earlier. I told you in the previous lectures as well. Yeah, Vibhas Kulkarni is saying, hi Sanat, I always hold as a sphere as illogic. We always need government intervention. Economy can't function without intervention. I think, see, this is a basic example I always give to my students, that suppose economy is like an earth. If you consider economy as earth and the government as a sun, if sun comes onto the earth, you know what will happen. And if sun fades away, what will happen to the economy? So it's the government interference. Too much interference hurts the economy, less interference hurts the economy. I hope you understand. So we need government, we need a free market, but that the balance that our economist must think, or the prime minister, or the executive must think about it. Yeah, Khushbu, MA private is eligible for IAS or not? I have to see the degree. So it depends on the degree and the university. If the university is recognized, it is surely eligible. And if you see the IGNOU degree is eligible. Richa is asking, India is already facing inflation. If printing of money increase, then it will affect our economy. Yes, it will affect our economy, but it doesn't mean that if you print the economy, you cannot take it back. You can anytime take it back, but at the initial stage you can increase the supply of money so that people will have the money in their hand. And you know that if you see the last 10 years of data of RBI, they have been printing at a large scale. So I hope you have seen that, and you can see, if you're not able to see or analyze that data, you just understand the value of 100 rupees in 2009 or 2010 or 2020. You will understand that how much government printed the currency. Ratnesh is asking, isn't it crucial time to reform, creating new system in every sector? Like, yeah, Ratnesh, I totally agree with you, and this is a great opportunity. The government take the advantage. There are a lot of opportunities in the past as well, and now it is coming. If the government is not proactive, then obviously that opportunity will go away. So it's all about the game of the opportunity. If you're not making most of those opportunity, you will be behind the world. Yeah, thank you, Anamika. Umapati is asking, your all program was good, we want more session. Thank you so much, dear. Which sector? Tommy Genie is asking, which sector will benefit most after COVID? I think health sector is the most benefit. Sanket is asking, when share market growing, is it the good sign economy is growing? Economy is growing, the fundamentals are very strong of the Indian economy, so people are having trust in the economy, people are investing money. So stock market growth is a good sign for the economy is growing. It means investors are having faith. Thank you so much, Umapati. BSNL service is worst in connection of the internet broadband to Gram Panchayat office. Yes, I can understand. That's why I'm saying that there is no business that government should be in the business. So no business of the government should be in the business. I mean, government must immediately take all of the PSUs out of the business and they must be sold to the private sector, so that government is having capital, and that capital must not be used in the revenue expenditure. They must be used in the capital expenditure to build assets. Assets are important. Samir Rai is saying, referring to David Ricardo, if we are not able to revive the economy for a short period of time, then the government should distribute the accumulated wealth lawfully to keep up the aggregate demand. Yes, I totally agree with that. Ayushi Singh is, how government provided money in the hand of the by a Jan Dhan account, Jam Trinity, Jan Dhan Aadhaar Mobile, DBT. Pooja is asking, after clearing net job opportunities, still higher or not? Obviously there are a lot of opportunity, because if you add one skill to your profile, it will give you more opportunity. If you want to become an economist, you need to qualify UGC NET JRF, because without JRF you cannot do research, and without research you cannot become an economist. So that's it. I've answered all the doubts, and thank you so much for being with me and in the session. I hope this session would be helpful for you. Please don't forget to subscribe Ecoholics, or if you like this video, please share with your friends to get the conceptual clarity about the economy and the economic understanding, so that you'll not fall in the trap of all the fake WhatsApp messages like boycotting goods of some other country or do this, do that. So I hope you will become a real economist and be a responsible citizen before spreading any news. For more details, you can follow us on Instagram account, where you'll get a lot of factual information and the conceptual information. You can follow me on Twitter, because where I provide the daily updates regarding economy from the conceptual part, so that it will increase your understanding. All the links given in the description of the video. Recently I've uploaded a video on UGC NET economics, so you can watch that. Apart from this, from tomorrow onwards, we are providing all the previous year questions for free. That is for UPSC Civil Services Preliminary Examination, UGC NET Paper 1 and Paper 2. So stay tuned for that. You'll get all the questions on our mobile app that is totally free. So download the mobile app from the description of this video. I hope people are doing great, and stay at home. Don't rush out. Although the cases has gone up, but there is still a threat of coronavirus. Government opened the economy, government opened everything. It doesn't mean that corona went away. So this is like corona is here, economy is also here. So be safe and don't take too much stress. I think I've answered all the important questions. There's one question: is it wise to print money? Will it affect the inflation? Obviously, it will affect the inflation, but you can later on control it. And you know that government has been printing continuously. So printing activity is a continuous phenomena. It's not a new phenomena. So although people don't know about it, but the printing of currency is a regular phenomenon. Okay, so that's it, and thank you so much. A good night.